Hey everyone, so today we're going to figure out how we can reverse the phase on a 1/4-inch mono signal. I know the first thing most people think is, well, just reverse the wires on one end of a cable. Well, on a 1/4-inch mono source, it does not work like that. So we're going to have to use some type of transistor or possibly a 1-to-1 audio transformer. I don't have the stuff on me to build one from scratch, but I do have this Pyle mini hum eliminator. Since this does have 1-to-1 audio transformers in it, I think we can use this to install a phase flip switch on one side of that transformer. You may be asking yourself, why would anybody need this in the first place? You will likely never need anything like this unless you are running a dual mono or stereo setup with 2 amps. Certain amplifiers and effects may not have the same phase orientation, so depending on your setup, you could wind up with 2 signals out of phase with each other. For one particular tour, I had this rig wired as a dual mono setup where each amplifier had a completely independent signal chain. They shared no effects aside for the crybaby rack wah there. In one specific instance, I had a patch on this that would put an MXR microcores in the loop of 1 amp and the other one would be completely dry. That course pedal actually inverts the phase due to its design, so when that would be recalled into the signal path, it would put one of my amps out of phase with the other, resulting in a volume drop. So here's what I built to fix it. And yes, I know what you're thinking. This rig is way too big and it's completely excessive. And you're absolutely right. It's definitely a lot of fun. So we can use anything with a 1-to-1 transformer in it. This device is part of our oh shit box. When you're playing a venue and you've just got hum you can't get rid of, this is one of the easiest things we can try is just insert this into a loop. And I don't think this is a permanent solution to those type of problems, but it definitely comes in handy and it's pretty cheap. I think we got them off Amazon for like 30 bucks or something. But the reason I think they're going to work is because we have 2 1-to-1 audio transformers right there. So we can start by, let's just take it all apart. And these aren't the best audio transformers. They do cause a little bit of, if I remember correctly, a little bit of high-end insertion loss. Don't think they color the tone that much. So we should figure out which ones tip the ring in the sleeve. Our tip is on the left, our ring is in the center, and our sleeve is right here on all of them. So just mark that to know what we are looking at. So what we're going to have to do is look at the input and output of these transformers here. This is our output jack. And I think on a 1-to-1 transformer, it probably doesn't really matter which way you do it. Basically, our tip would be our mono input source. We'll follow this all the way up to here, right? So that means this should come down and go to our ring source, and that is correct. We're going to have to break the solder trace on this output side, wire these two to a switch, and all we need this switch to do is reverse the 2 wires. Should be easy enough. So let's start by getting rid of this circuit trace here. Should just be able to scrape it off. Alright, that should be all it takes for that. Just make sure there's no more continuity. There's 40K. What the fuck? Looks like we need to break this one too. Okay, good. Now we've got nothing between those 2. So here is our input for the second channel. Alright, I'm pretty sure we just broke continuity there too. Let's go ahead and just make sure. Because we also need to see where our switches are going to fit. And just kind of looking down in there, we can eyeball it and just see that it has to go pretty much right on the side here. I do want to outfit some type of ground lift switch in here too. So what we'll do with this switch is we really just need our 2 input wires to hit these middle 2 lugs. One side of the switch will have a wire that goes from here to the opposite corner, and same for that. One way it's normal, the other way it's flipped. And that's what one of our finished switches looks like. So this is going to be our input wire from our transformer primary. This is going to be our output wire for the transformer secondary. Alright, so here we are with all our switches mounted up. Down position is going to be, just normal phase. Up is going to be reverse. I'm going to label this stuff too. And here are my ground lift connections. Since this is actually marketed and designed to be a hum eliminator, the grounds from each cable are isolated. So this switch actually in the down position has those grounds together. So we can go and mount everything back at this point. Now I've got all the test equipment hooked up to make sure that the phase reversal actually works. Of course we could put this through 2 different amplifiers and flip them back and forth, but that's a little primitive. Here we can actually see the result. I'm putting about 500 hertz, 550 hertz through this thing, and I should obviously get 550 back out of the other side. If I go ahead and flip my phase switch, you can see my waveform flips 180 degrees. So I would say that worked out great. So here's a little close-up of the scope, and here is my 180 switch. You can see the waveform invert 180 degrees. So I got curious and hooked up another test lead to my input signal just because I wanted to see what the difference was between the input and the output. So if I flip the phase on here, the reddish purple one stays the same. The yellow one obviously goes 180 degrees out. Here we are with the finished product. I went ahead and labeled the bottom here to make it easier to see which one is the in and the out, because this is kind of small up here and gets confusing in the dark. Went ahead and added some labels up here. So this is normal, reverses the phase for this channel. This is the ground lift for this channel. Ground lift for the other side. Throws it 180 out of phase. So cool. You can still use this if you pop these up. Now it still works just as a hum eliminator by utilizing the isolation transformers in here. I'm not going to use it for that purpose anymore. I won't ever use these XLRs more than likely. I will use this to correct phasing issues in my guitar rig. So very cool. So here you go. That's a creative and inexpensive way to invert unbalanced audio signals. Interestingly enough, I couldn't even remember how much these things cost. I just looked it up and they're like $20. 20 bucks, some wire, and maybe $3 or $4 for each switch. You really can't beat that, because that means you can do this for under $30. There's actually, I just looked it up, there is a Pyle PH400 or PE400. It's basically the same thing without the XLRs, which is probably a more effective solution because I don't need the XLRs for what I intend to use this for. Well, thanks for watching, and I hope you found it helpful, and we'll see you next time.